Parts of a sentence. The parts of a sentence are important to know because it helps to identify sentence fragments, and it'll help when we learn about clauses and how to punctuate them, and even when we get to subject-verb agreement later. So what is a complete sentence? For a sentence to be complete and not a sentence fragment, there are three things it has to have. It has to have a subject, a verb, and it needs to make a complete thought. So keeping those three things in mind, let's look at the following sentences. Ask yourself, are these complete or not? As soon as I get to school. A battleship used during World War I. The fireman burst into the burning home. Because the teacher said so. No one saw us. But I don't want to go. Look at these and determine which ones are complete sentences. Sentence A, as soon as I get to school, is not a complete sentence because we're left wondering, as soon as you get to school, what? It's not a complete thought. A battleship used during World War I, that has no verb, so it can't be a complete sentence. The fireman burst into the burning home. This is a complete sentence because we have a subject, fireman, we have a verb, burst, and it makes a complete thought. Because the teacher said so. This has a subject and a verb, but we're left wondering, okay, because the teacher said so, what? So it is a sentence fragment. No one saw us. This is a complete sentence. It has the subject, no one, and it has the verb, saw. But I don't want to go. This has a subject and a verb. I don't want, but it starts with but, which is a conjunction, and you can't start complete sentences with a conjunction because conjunctions join things. So what is it being joined to? Well, nothing. So that is a sentence fragment. Now, you need to be able to identify the simple subjects and the verbs, just as I did as I went through those previous sentences and determined whether they were complete sentences or sentence fragments. So the subject is the noun or pronoun that tells who or what the sentence is about. The verb is the action of the sentence, or it may indicate a state of being. Those are your is, am, was, were types of verbs. Here's a sample. Max thought of a brilliant plan. The subject is Max because he is doing the action of the verb, which is thought. Now that's a pretty simple one. But when looking for subjects and verbs, it's going to be easiest if you find the verb first so that you can ask yourself who or what is doing that action. Now, verbs can be tricky because they can be part of verb phrases, which is basically any helping verb along with the main verb. In that last sentence, it wasn't a whole phrase, it was just a verb. But look at this. Max had thought of a brilliant plan. Well, now the entire verb is had thought. Both words need to be included because it has a main verb, but it also has helping verbs. Here's another one. She will be 16 this year. Will be is the entire verb. The movie could have been better. Could have been is the entire verb phrase because you need to include all of the helping verbs with it. Now, once you've determined what the verb is, then you can figure out what the simple subject is. What is the verb referring to? In this sentence, Max had thought of a brilliant plan. I can find my verb, had thought, and ask myself, well, who or what thought of the brilliant plan? Well, Max did, so that's the subject. She will be 16 this year. We know the verb is will be. Who will be? She will be. She is the subject. The movie could have been better. Could have been is our verb. Well, what could have been? The movie. Movie is the subject. Now I would like for you to identify the subject and verb in each of these sentences. I love English class. Now this we look for the verb, and it's love. And who or what is loving? I am loving, especially English class. Grammar is my favorite topic. Well, what is the verb? The verb is. And what is my favorite topic? Grammar, of course. Grammar is a subject. We will be studying grammar all year long. This one's a little bit trickier because it has a verb phrase. Will be studying is the entire verb phrase. And we is the subject because that's who's going to be studying grammar all year long. Aren't you excited? All right, now sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated because we have compound subjects or compound verbs. And basically compound means more than one. So in this example, we find our verb went and we ask ourselves who or what went, and we can see that there are two people that went shopping, Julia and her mom. We don't need and her because those are just extra words in there, but Julia and mom are the two nouns. Those other words aren't nouns. Her mom bought her a dress and took her to lunch. Well, here we have a subject, mom, doing two things. She's bought the dress and she took Julia to lunch. She's a really nice mom. Here we have both Julia and her mom, two people doing two things, enjoyed the day and planned to do it again soon. So we have a compound verb and a compound subject. Let's try it. Identify the subjects and the verbs. Ryan, Paul, and I are good friends. Clearly the verb is are, and the subject is Ryan, Paul, I. There are three subjects there. Jack watched Lord of the Rings and loved it. Two verbs here, loved and watched, and Jack is our subject who is doing both of those things. Katie and Jamie went to the mall and bought their homecoming dresses. Here we have two people doing two things. Katie and Jamie, they went to the mall and bought their homecoming dresses. So the verbs are went and bought. Okay, if that wasn't complicated enough for you, we actually have some things that are even more complicated in learning the simple subject. So this is about finding the not so simple subject. Command sentences. In a command sentence, the subject is the understood you. The subject isn't actually in the sentence. So for example, if I say, close the door, close is the action, and I'm asking you to do it. So it's an understood you. Please finish your homework. Finish is the verb, and I'm asking you to do it. So it's the understood you. It's just not in the sentence. Here's one that's a little trickier. Spencer, sit down and be quiet. Here we have two verbs, sit and be, and I'm asking you to do it. And even though I have Spencer there, that's a statement of direct address, and so it is not the subject. Anytime you have a command sentence, no matter what, the subject is the understood you. Moving on to question sentences. In a question sentence, the subject is often found in the middle of the verb phrase. So for example, will Jane pass the test? Well, the verb is will pass, and Jane is the subject. You could think about it as putting it into a sentence. Jane will pass the test. Then you know that the verb is will pass. Here's another one. Did she study for the test? The verb is did study, and the subject is she. It's coming in the middle of the verb phrase again. Next we have subjects with prepositional phrases. A subject is not going to be found in a prepositional phrase, and that can sometimes make things a little tricky. The books on the table are mine. Are is the verb, and the subject is books. It is not table, okay? And if you think about it, what are mine? Well, it's the books. It's not the table that's mine. It's the books that are mine. But it can be tricky because table is so close to the verb. So you got to be thinking about which is it. Now this one is even trickier because we start our sentence with a prepositional phrase, around the corner. Well, none of those words can be the subject because a subject cannot be in a prepositional phrase. Our verb is. Well, what is around the corner? The concession stand. So concession stand, that's a compound noun because it's two words that make up one noun, is our subject here. Also, there and here. There and here can never be the subject. You're going to have to look after the verb to find the subject. There are 15 people in the room. Are is our verb. There is not our subject. People. You could say 15 people are in the room. Here is the money for the t-shirt. The verb is, but the subject is not here. It's money. We could say the money for the t-shirt is here. And then it would make more sense. All right, let's practice. Identify the subject and verb in the following sentences. The students asked many questions. Okay, here the verb is asked, and you can ask yourself who or what is asking the questions. Well, students. So students is the subject. The farmer fed the chickens and milked the cows. Here we have two verbs, a compound verb, fed and milked. The farmer is the subject because he's the one doing both the feeding and the milking. My mom and dad have been planning a big trip. All right, here we have a verb phrase, have been planning. So hopefully you marked that as your complete verb phrase. And who or what is doing the planning? Mom and dad. So mom and dad is the simple subject. Have you seen my phone? All right, this is a question, so it gets a little complicated. The verb is have seen, and the subject is you. So your subject-verb combination would be you have seen. Look for my phone, please. Here, this is a command sentence. Look is the verb, and the subject is the understood you, because I'm asking you to look for my phone. The girl without the phone will be in big trouble. Okay, here the verb is will be, and you have to ask yourself who or what will be in trouble. Well, it's the girl, clearly not the phone. Besides, without the phone is a prepositional phrase, so you know that your subject is not going to be in there. Girl is your simple subject. In the office is her angry mother. Okay, here the verb is, and office is not what we're talking about here. In the office is a prepositional phrase, so we have to look after the verb, and the simple subject is mother. Her and angry are both adjectives describing mother, so mother is the noun that is the subject. All right, last one. There are consequences for your carelessness. All right, with this one, are is the verb. There cannot be the subject, remember. So the subject is actually consequences. And that is it.